fun with us and don't forget to subscribe.
What's up everybody, I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our review of the 1937 movie Lost Horizon. Now, of course, for those of you who don't know, this is our bucket list channel, a channel in which we try to realize the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list. One of those goals is for us to watch every movie that was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Award from 1927 to 2028. As of now, for this goal, we have watched 83 movies, the latest of which is Lost Horizon, the movie we're going to be talking about today. Based on the 1933 novel of the same name by James Hilton, this Columbia Picture film was released on September 1st, 1937. The movie follows British writer and diplomat Robert Conway and a group of plane crash survivors who have landed in the mystical Shangri-La, a valley hidden deep in the mountains of Tibet. While some of the survivors grow to love the remote paradise, others suspect that the crash was no accident. Mystery!
Fantasy mystery.
Yeah. So, Anna, what did you think of Shangri-La? What did you think of this movie?
So, first off, I want to say there's one thing that I really love about this movie is that it starts off as a fictional historical movie. It seems like they're going to present you the history of something, and you don't suspect the mystical elements that are gonna come in later.
Oh, you mean because at the beginning we have these elements of
we have the war,
civil war in China,
exactly.
So he has to leave, yeah.
And it seems like it's gonna be about that,
so
like a story that happens during the war.
Historical movie.
Exactly. Then the mystical elements come in and you don't expect it. And there's another layer to it. They introduce them, but in such a way that later on when they put doubt into your mind, you doubt it. They tell you the truth and then they make you doubt it.
Yeah.
So I think that's brilliant.
I guess if you were not aware of the original book or even of the term Shangri-La, which has been used ad nauseum since then to make reference to this kind of utopian paradise, fantastical utopian paradise, you wouldn't know, like you said, that at the beginning this is not a movie about the Chinese Civil War. I really like your point about us doubting the mystical elements of Shangri-La, which are numerous but only talked about, never proven, or at least until the end of the movie. Like they say, people don't really age as quickly here.
They live much longer.
Yeah, this Lama here is 200 something years old.
Right.
And they're just telling you these things. And just like the main character, Robert Conway, you choose to believe or not. And you cannot choose to believe. I'd never doubted it until the doubt was put in my mind.
Exactly. I never doubted it. As I was listening to their stories and as I was looking at the High Lama.
Yeah.
I was thinking oh, that's what this is. It's like a mystical, fantastical place. But then that one character, the girl who had been there for a long time, comes and says, no, they're lying. I've only been here 2 years. I'm basically a prisoner. I can't get out. Help me get out.
And you're thinking, yeah.
You're thinking, you know what?
Maybe.
It makes more sense.
And I think this is also about human nature. We were watching the movie and thinking the whole time, and maybe this is because other movies of the type have done this, there must be a dark side to all of this. It can't be this utopia, you know? Really, they're eating people or something. You imagine that there's something horrible going on. When in the end it's revealed that really there's nothing overly wrong about the place. Now we can talk about some of the cinematographic and choices of the director or of the book writer in terms of the locals versus the Europeans. But in terms of what the movie presents to you story-wise, there's nothing wrong with the place.
Yeah, exactly.
You just assume that there should be. I just made allusion to that. This is probably one of my biggest criticism of the movie. The relationship between the different people there, and I guess this is a movie of its time, as they say.
Yeah.
The people who live in the fancy house and who seems to be in control of Shangri-La are the Europeans.
Right.
While the locals, they live down in the valley. They are learning English. It seems very colonial.
Exactly, it has heavy colonial tones to
Yeah.
it. And it also, from what the story is telling us, seems like the natives were just living there in nature until these foreigners came in, starting with the priest.
The High Lama.
Yes, and they're the ones who built them
Made
the
it better,
city
yeah.
and exactly made it like into this paradise.
And you could say like, oh, one of the leaders, Chang, is a Chinese man, but easy.
But is it right?
Easy, you know?
Yes.
I have that information here in the book and in the script also. He is said to be Chinese. And even during the movie, someone says a line about him being Chinese. But he doesn't look, sound, or act in any way that would make you think.
I mean, because he's not played by a Chinese actor,
course.
So.
I just assume he was a European born there called Chang, you know?
Yeah.
They gave him a Chinese name because he was born here, but he's just a white guy. But no, apparently he's Chinese, which is kind of weird. While we're talking about the characters, let's move on to some of the characters and also information about this movie, because there's a lot of interesting information. First of all, before we get into the cast, I want to talk about the version of this movie.
Oh, right.
Because when the movie started, we got the text that says this is a reconstruction of the movie. A lot of the scenes were lost, and when we watched it, we watched a version in which some scenes were not there and replaced by still images of the production, and there's a whole story behind all of this. So this movie, directed by Frank Capra, that we remember from Lady for a Day, It Happened One Night, and Mr. Deed Goes to Town. Lots of good movies under his belt.
Right, that's true.
This movie has seen its fair share of cut, remastered, reversion, call it what you will name it. So the first version of the film was 6 hours long.
What? 6 hours?
6 hours long. The studio considered releasing it in 2 parts, but eventually decided that the idea was impractical. 6 hours.
Nowadays it would be practical.
2 parts, yeah, they do it all the time. Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see that 6 hours version too.
You know what? I am too.
Yeah. So then Capra managed to trim the running time of the film to 3.5 hours. Okay. And then they had previews of the movie in 1936. But following the showing, the audience was not receptive to a movie that long.
I see.
Okay. And some people walked out of the showing. Others were laughing at parts that were meant to be serious. Like, it went on for too long. The whole thing was a catastrophe. So after that, Capra still made some cut, but the production was still unhappy with the movie's length, and so they intervened directly and edited the movie themselves to get to a 132-minute version, which is the length of the version we saw. But because the box office return on that version, as they started showing it, were so low, they decided to cut it even more by 14 minutes for the general release. But it's not over.
Okay.
Then, in 1942, the film was re-released as The Lost Horizon Shangri-La, and a lengthy drunken speech by Robert Conway was cut off of the movie, which Capra was not happy with. He said the movie made no sense without it.
Okay.
And that part was also deleted, making the movie even shorter. Then, in 1952, a 92-minute version of the film was released, which aimed to downplay the element that would compare Shangri-La with communist ideals, because, of the times.
Yeah.
And so that 92-minute version of the movie was the only one in circulation for a long time.
So what did we see last night?
Until in 1973, the AFI, Columbia, and a bunch of people got together and decided to restore the movie to its original 132-minute length. They only had the sound for 132 minutes, but they didn't have the image all the way through, so some images were replaced by still photos.
Very convoluted history this movie had.
It's crazy.
I wonder how much the story differs.
Yeah, me too.
Like if you want to see the 3.5 hours or, the 6
hours
version of it. I'm sure there must be so many elements that make you understand the story in a very different way.
I think they would take their time way more with a lot of the things, the travel to Shangri-La, or, just them settling in and
maybe they would show that last part, him going back.
Yeah, because it's just someone telling us, he did all of these things, that they could have shown us. That's true.
Right.
Let's talk about those people we've been talking about,
Okay,
the cast and actors of this movie. So, of course, in the main role, we have Ronald Colman as Robert Conway. We saw him in Hero Smith and in A Tale of Two Cities. This time he did not cut his mustache for the role. One interesting information is that Frank Capra had read James Hilton novel while filming. It happened one night, and so he wanted to make Lost Horizon his next movie. But Ronald Colman, who was his first and only choice for the role, was busy at the time, so he decided to make Mr. Deed Goes to Town first, and then did Lost Horizon. Which is
waited for him. That's a big thing, you know.
Yeah.
Wait for one actor.
Was it worth it? Did you like his performance?
Yes, I think he was great in the role. I think he was really convincing. I think he managed to put on that change of emotion between disbelief and I want to believe it.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is a big thing, you know. It's not necessarily that he just believes in blindly in what these people are saying. It's that he wants to believe.
Exactly.
You know, he feels like he belongs there. He feels like this is the truth that I want. And so it's very hard for him when his brother confronts him
that it might not be real. Yeah, I agree. And especially in that scene when the brother and the girl manage to convince him that it's actually not real, that, you know, mix of disappointment and sadness, but at the same time feeling like more than wanting to believe something, he would rather choose the truth.
Yeah.
You know? It really shows through.
Mm-hmm. But even then we were talking about it when we were watching that I'm sure deep down he would have rather been able to believe the lie or be fine with the lie.
Exactly. That is a very complex feeling.
Yeah.
Like to portray, and I think the actor did a great job at it. I loved it.
We also have Jane Wyatt as Sandra. Sandra, by the way, and also Lovett are both characters that do not appear in the novel but were created for the movie to have a love interest and a comic relief character. What did you think of her? Was her addition brought anything interesting to the fold?
I mean, I totally see how the story works with her.
With her?
I didn't feel like she was extra. Love it as the comic relief. Yeah, I guess you can kind of tell now that you told me that he wasn't there initially, because this is not a comedy, you know, this is not supposed to be funny, but for the screen you need the
alleviate those drama elements with someone, you know.
Exactly. But her role was really well placed in my opinion.
Yeah, and she also provided that interesting perspective of someone who was born there while not being a quote-unquote native, because again, that colonial attitude, they always talk in the we and the them, you know, right. Even though she was born there, she should be a we. For someone who is not a quote-unquote native, she brings in that perspective, which is a very interesting character to have there, telling her like, oh, I've read all your books and your world seems so strange to me, you know.
Right. That's interesting also that she brings in that discourse as someone who never saw the outside world.
Yeah.
Of how she perceives it, you know, because it makes you reflect on how would we perceive a world like hers.
Yeah. I guess that brings in an important change, is that she's the one who, you know, convinced the High Lama to bring in Robert. I guess in the book it's probably the High Lama's own decision,
right?
Or something like that. And then we just talked about him. Edward Everett plays Lovett. We saw him in The Gay Divorcee and in Top Hat. And here he's as funny as he was in those two movies. Less present, but still.
I really like his I don't know, sudden movements, reactions.
Yeah, no, he's always a delight to watch, and like we said, he's important in the sense that he, you know, calms down those dramatic elements, those dramatic scenes, who a lot of times are brought forth by John Howard or George Conway in this movie, who's the one who's always screaming left and right, this place is weird, we have to leave. He's even tried to shoot some people there for no reason apparent.
I feel like his character really is, while kind of annoying at times, understandable.
Yeah.
Like, he is the guy who cannot believe an utopia. Even when faced with undeniable proof,
he chooses to kill himself.
Right, exactly. Because he cannot accept it. That's how you feel it. That's how you feel his character. Everybody else finds their place in this new world that they discover, and he just can't.
But anything that he cannot understand, he doesn't want to have to deal with. So it makes him angry even. I feel like he goes too far. He could have just left. Why try to shoot at the people there? I understand that you have the feeling that you're a prisoner, but really you're not. You're walking around freely.
Right.
No one even
and
stopped you.
And the front door is open.
Yeah, no one even stopped them when they were leaving.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, you're not really a prisoner. It's just that they're not trying to get you out.
Right.
There's a difference. And then we talked about him earlier. H.B. Warner plays Chang. We saw him in 5-Star Final, A Tale of Two Cities, and Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. This is our Chinese, non-Chinese character. We had a whole conversation about whitewashing and the good earth. Here, I frankly thought this was not a Chinese character because this tries so little.
Yeah, I feel like they just don't mention it at all, and it is not obvious in any way. And considering, the setting of the story, you believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's okay, obviously.
No.
They could have found a Chinese actor to play the character. But I feel like it doesn't affect the story.
Yeah. But it reinforces that element we were talking about earlier, that colonial element, meaning that, the servants are the locals, the people being taught to are the locals, all the people in power are European, and even the one who is seemingly not European is really European.
Right. It's also very interesting to think that, these foreigners are shown coming in over time. Normally, when you're a small group of outsiders coming into a native territory, you're the one who learns their language.
Yeah.
What kind of influence would that father, what was his name, the High Lama have had? Because he was also an outsider when he came there. To make everyone there learn English.
His language, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that colonialism seeping through the movie. And the story, I guess, the book. Another interesting element for the casting, and we were talking about the High Lama just now, casting for the part of the High Lama proved to be very difficult. After a screen test of 56 years old retired stage actor A.E. Anson, Capra decided that he was perfect for the role. So he made a call to the actor's home, and then the housekeeper picked up and answered the phone. So Capra told her, like, oh, go tell him that he got the role, So the housekeeper called Capra back, saying that when Anson heard the news, he had a heart attack and died.
What? Oh my god.
Following that, Capra offered the part to 58-year-old Henry B. Warhol, but he also died before shooting began.
I mean, they're not that old. It's
that's so deciding to play it safe age-wise. He finally cast Sam Jeffy, who was 45 at the time.
The makeup did a good job. I actually thought the actor was old. Yeah. Well, obviously not as old as we see him, but I at least thought he was somewhat old.
Yeah.
But 45. Wow, that's like almost like a cursed role or something.
Almost, yeah. But through all of these tribulation, including budget tribulation, this movie went way over its budget, one of the most expensive movie at the time. It was still a success. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards and won 2, so nominated for Best Picture or Outstanding Production. Supporting actor for H.B. Warner as Chang. Best scoring, which, by the way, we didn't talk about it. He's good.
Yeah, he does the role really well.
Mm-hmm. Best scoring for Columbia Studio Music Department. Best sound recording for John P. Libaldry. Best art direction for Stephen Goosen, which he won. Best film editing for Gene Havlick and Gene Milford, they won. And Best Assistant Director C.C. Coleman Jr. So this was a very successful movie who had a big influence on popular culture. It was even remade in 1973 as a musical, and again in 1997 as a movie called Bridge of Time. There was even a short-lived Broadway play called the Shangri-La, which was not very successful in the 1950s. Before we get to ranking this movie, do you have anything else you'd want to touch on?
No, I think we pretty much talked about everything there was to say about this movie for now.
Yeah, would you recommend this film?
I would definitely recommend it. I think it's amazing to watch.
Here's the thing that we haven't talked much about: the scenery.
Yes,
this movie went way over budget. There's a lot of location filming. There's a lot of footage from the Himalayas taken from other projects, but still, it is stunning a lot of the times.
Yes, that is true, and I feel like
So that's I'm surprised they didn't get any awards nomination for that. But I thought the movie looked really good, especially like Shangri-La has this specific feel and look to it that you remember, you know. But yeah, I would recommend it too. Great movie. Some thematic element bothered me, but other than that, the story was very interesting. The theme of belief and what is real, what is not, all of that was really interesting. Go watch this movie if you get your hands on it. Time for us now, Anna, to rank this movie.
let's rank it.
For every Academy Award year, we rank the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, and now we will be ranking the 10th Academy Award, or the 1937 one. As of now, the ranking is number 5, The Awful Truth, number 4, An Old Chicago, number 3, The Good Earth, number 2, Dead End, and number 1, Captain's Courageous. Where would you put The Lost Horizon?
I think I would put it at number 1.
At number 1? Oh.
Yes.
Interesting. I was gonna say number 2.
Okay.
What makes you think this would go over Captain's Courageous?
I feel like the elements that make this movie as good as it is are really good, Like the story has a certain kind of complexity. There's the mystery element that is involved that they tell you from the beginning and then they make you doubt it. And I feel like that's difficult to do,
Yeah.
Also, the characters are very interesting. The main character is very complex.
A lot of that could be said for a lot of the elements and Captain's Courageous,
Yes, that is true. I just like this one's more, I guess.
And I'm gonna go
Okay.
with that last line that you said. You just like this one more, you guess. If you would ask me, pound for pound, which is the better movie, I'm tempted to say Captain's Courageous. If you ask me which movie I enjoyed more, I would say The Lost Horizon. And so I see no problem in putting it at number 1.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know if I would necessarily say that Captain's Courageous is the better movie. Like maybe because
the depth of the characters in Captain's Courageous is also there. That
That
little
is
boy
true.
that you hate at the beginning, by the end you're crying for him.
that is true. The only character that has like that kind of depth to himself here in Lost Horizon is the main character. But even then, like the story is not just his story, so the focus is not only on him, so you don't feel it as much.
Lost Horizon is just more my type of movies. I don't mind putting it at number 1. So I guess that's it. The new ranking is thus number 6, The Awful Truth, number 5, An Old Chicago, number 4, The Good Earth, number 3, Dead End, number 2, Captain's Courageous, and number 1, Lost Horizon.
Yeah.
So that was it for our review of the 1937 movie Lost Horizon. If you've seen the movie yourself and have an opinion, please tell us in the comment section below. What did you think of it? Like this video if you did. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And go check out some of our other videos. This is not just a movie reviewing channel. This is a bucket list channel. We do a lot of different things. Traveling, playing games, watching anime, etc. and etc. Go check those things out. And don't forget that if you yourself have a dream or a goal that you wish to realize, take that first step.